Welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. How are you doing, Matt?
Pretty sweet, not bad at all.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm all right. It's been a busy old time, but it's been good. I've managed to see a film, and I'm somewhat up to date on The Boys, apart from today's episode, because we're recording on a Friday for once. That's how busy these weeks have been. But no, I'm all good. So I guess you've seen more than me. Do you wanna start off? What have you been have you been watching?
So I'll start off with Dave Made a Maze.
Dave Made a Maze.
Yeah. So it's it came out in 2017, so it's been out for a while.
Oh, okay. That's not the film I was thinking of then, because I thought, I think I looked at that this week and didn't watch it, but it must not have been. So no, I don't know this one then.
Right. So this is basically it's about a couple played by Nick Thune and Mira Romit Kumbani. Probably mangled your name. I'm terribly sorry. And he's sort of an artist, and she's sort of some sort of professional, and basically they seem to be sort of happy but kind of in a sort of rut. Mm-hmm. And then one day she goes off to I think she goes away for the weekend for a work event, and while she's away, Dave makes a maze in the flat.
Okay.
And it's
as you
made
do.
of cardboard. Yeah. He basically decides, this is I need to make something, so I'm going to make a maze. So he makes this maze.
Fair enough.
And his girlfriend comes back, and she opens the front door, and there's this giant box thingy in the middle of her room.
Okay, yeah.
And she calls out for Dave, and Dave answers, "Hi, I'm stuck in the maze." And she says, "What do you mean you're stuck in the maze?" He says, "Well, I built this maze over the weekend, and now I'm stuck."
Okay.
So she gives it a shake, and you sort of cut to him, and he's in this giant room somewhere.
Okay, so it's quite abstract.
Cardboard. Yeah.
Okay.
And he says, "Don't do that. The whole thing will come down, and I'll never be able to get out," sort of thing. So he says, "What we're gonna do?" He says, "Well, just go and get my friend." So she goes and finds his friend. His friend comes over, and then for a series of they phone people and other people, all these people come to sort of be in this flat.
Right.
And
how big is the flat? I'm assuming the flat's way too small for this to actually be happening. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So the maze looks like it takes up most of the sort of living room.
Okay.
In the flat. However, the room that the boyfriend's in is clearly bigger than that. Okay. So they decide to the girlfriend decides that's it. He's been in there long enough. There's a one of their friends is this documentary filmmaker,
right?
And he decides they're gonna sort of film everything. So he's got a sound guy and a cameraman with him. There's another friend. There's two friends that are these terrible hipsters that are there, and then for some random reason, a homeless guy, and for some random reason, some Swedish tourists.
Okay.
And the girlfriend decides that's it. After a while, they're going to go in and rescue him. So they go through the sort of little door in this maze, and of course, lo and behold, they're in a TARDIS-like maze. It's huge.
Sure. Okay. So she thinks he's just being a fool at first.
Yeah.
And then realizes, this is actually this labyrinthian maze.
Maybe he's having some sort of breakdown or something. Maybe this is sort of call for help. And basically, they go in this maze to rescue him, and it's there are a series of little sort of traps and things, and
okay.
it's like
they
Death
find
Trap
out there's dungeon in there.
Yeah, really, and it's all completely made out of cardboard. It's fantastic. The actual cardboard walls and traps and things are absolutely fantastic. They're so well made. And then things like one of the characters like sets off a trap and it slices her throat.
Right. Okay.
And not blood comes out, but like red cloth comes out of her wound.
Right.
And like, well, is she dead or is it?
So is this all like just? It's all like their imagination. Like they've kind of mentally regressed to that kind of childhood state where they're imagining all of this, or like is it played serious?
Well, that's the thing. Is yes, it's
okay.
Pretty much played serious. There's. I mean, I don't really want. I could.
It sounds really quirky and fun, to be honest.
It's been out for a while, so I don't know whether to spoil things or not.
Spoil.
But well,
yeah, why not?
By the end of the movie, those people that basically die don't reappear.
Oh.
So.
Okay. It sounds fun. I quite like the idea of this. It sounds quite quirky.
It's probably one of the most hipster movies I've ever seen. It's really hipster.
That's not usually a good thing.
Having said that, it's really fun. Except for the two real hipster characters.
Sure.
One of them dies horribly, and one of them becomes this. She's sort of the maze. Kind of has a life of its own, and it kind of takes her over.
Okay.
So
right.
she becomes this like puppet for the maze.
Hmm.
And not only that, there's a minotaur running around this maze as well, and it's
every good maze needs a minotaur.
Exactly.
That's
it's this massively muscled guy with a cardboard head.
That's fantastic. I think the hallmark of any good maze is that you've got a minotaur. That's when you know you've made it in terms of maze making.
There's even a bit where they go through this tunnel, this tube, and they come out the other side of this tube, and they're all little cardboard people. For a sort of a brief sort of minute or so, a couple of minutes.
You know, I really like the sound of this.
It's completely batshit crazy, and it's so fun. I think it completely works. And then there's a really good scene that I like where they obviously they find Dave, and Dave's got there's this scene with this randomly there's this thing in the wall that I have already been spoiling it. So it basically looks like a vagina, and it's got like a swirly sort of like lights in it and stuff. And Dave put his hand in it at one point, and his hand is now cardboard. He's got this cardboard hand now.
Do you know? I instantly had flashbacks to Prometheus. Then. You know, like, what is it with people and vaginas? Just stick your hand in the vagina monster. It'll be fine. Yeah, every time.
I mean, it's an indictment of the male
of males, animal. For sure.
Exactly, the male animal. But I'd like to think that I was intelligent enough not to stick myself in the vaginal monster. But there you go.
No promises.
There's this really nice bit where they're sort of the boyfriend and girlfriend are just sort of discussing like their relationship, and you get these. Basically, it's the same scene but played three ways, and the first one is how he sees himself and her, and the second one is how she sees him and her, and then you get this sort of like a compromising scene where they've cut, what it should be like.
Okay.
And it's really sweet, and they realise that they have to. He has to complete the maze to get out of it.
Okay.
And basically the maze it all stems from his feelings of being a failure and never completing anything.
Okay, so he's trapped himself because he's not finished.
Yeah,
and he has to. This is the thing he will finish.
Yeah,
I like that.
And it's really fun, and it's really sweet, and it's batshit crazy. It's completely fucking mental.
Yes.
But it's really quite clever. It's really sweet, and the cardboard traps and rooms and stuff are so creatively sort of done. And it's all done with cardboard. It sounds
quite charming, to be honest.
It is.
At least
It's a
visually.
really yeah. It's and for for the only actor I know. Oh no, there's two actors I know. Adam Bush, who was in Buffy. He was one of the bad guys in Buffy. When they had
Okay, one of the thousands.
no, he was one of the three. The three villains
Oh, the
in season 5, I think it was.
the nerd kids.
Yes, he was
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
those.
Okay.
And James Bannock, who has been in lots of things where he's usually a villain.
Right.
But he's playing the documentary filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I think at times some of the stuff will test people's patience for,
Sure.
hipster stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want something that's like really silly and quite sort of fun, and has a really despite people dying, quite a sweet heart to it.
It sounds it sounds good.
I really recommend it. It's a good time.
I think I might give that a watch. I'm sure I've come across it online at some point, because when you said it, I was like, I'm sure I was planning on seeing that at one point. But
it was a trailer. Obviously, it came out 2017, and when the trailer hit, I was like, oh, I really must see that. And then I kind of forgot about it, and I did, because I didn't see it anywhere. And then the other weekend, I was sort of looking for something to watch on Amazon, and I was like, yes, I need to see that. I wanted to see that when I saw the trailer. So we sat and we watched it.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds quite fun and quirky.
Yeah,
I like it. What else have you watched?
So should we do it live?
Oh, we can do. Is it alive? I think it's hashtag alive, right?
I was going to say, do you pronounce the hashtag, or do you just say alive?
I wonder if it's alive in Korean. But then over here, they decided to put the hashtag in front of it. But looking at it online, the Korean has a hashtag in front of it. So I think it is. And I think what's happened is that obviously if you put a hashtag in front of something, it becomes a searchable field. And I don't think that people want to do that. So I think people are calling it alive instead of hashtag alive to stop it becoming a hashtag. So, yes.
I do think it's a terrible name for it, to be fair, but it is,
but it kind of makes sense in the context of the film.
I understand why they made it. Yeah, exactly.
I think they could have gone with a better name.
Yeah.
But, because, well, we'll get to it. But so hashtag alive is a South Korean zombie film directed by, here comes the name butcherings, if you want to do some name butcherings, Cho Il-hyung. And it's from the look of it, from what I can tell, it's his feature debut. He's done one short. He's done a short. And then this, I think.
Is Jin not a movie?
It's a short, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've not seen it, though, so it may be.
Okay.
But for a directorial debut, for a feature debut, I think he's done really well here. It stars Yo Ah-hin and Park Shin-hye. I'm butchering names, I do apologise.
Yeah.
So the film basically revolves around a video game live streamer, and he is on his own in his family apartment, which is several floors up, isn't it? Several stories up. And while his parents are like the fourth floor, somewhere around there. Yeah. And while his parents are out, a zombie outbreak takes place, and as happens, yes, a zombie outbreak takes place, and poor old Woo Jun-woo, the gamer boy, is stuck in his apartment. And to be honest, to begin with, this film really reminded me. Well, I was getting very The Night Eats the World vibes from 2018.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that yet. But from what you how you described it, I thought this definitely feels like a similar sort of thing.
Similar, but it does go in a different direction. Whereas The Night Eats the World is very much, this man is going mad on his own and he's making friends with a zombie, and he's kind of losing his mind because he's there so long. That's not really the case here. This seems to take place over a lot shorter period of time. And what did you make of it?
Well, the thing is, his character, he is way too stupid to live.
Right.
He is an absolute idiot.
Right.
However,
I agree.
he is so charming.
Right, so I had the opposite feeling, right? When I started,
really?
well, only at the start, and this is one thing I really like this film for. When this film started, I was like, I fucking hate this kid. I hope he dies. He deserves to die.
Yeah.
But over the course of the film, I just loved his stupid ass. Like, you know, he's just an idiot kid.
Yeah. He has zero skills.
Yeah, other than zero. And I love, like, you know, and they even make the point of, like, his parents told him to get food and he didn't bother, and now he's like,
and he didn't go out and get it.
Why didn't I do it?
Now he's got, like, some noodles and bits and pieces left. That's all he's got.
Yeah,
and I do like the thing that, like, you know, when the water runs out, he just basically goes to his dad's liquor cabinet and starts drinking
alcohol. Yeah. Which will really help.
I really liked the scene where well, it's not spoilers really, because you can see, you know, that the girl turns up in the trailer. So
she's
But this the scene where he's like he's had enough.
He's gonna kill himself.
Like out of food, he's gonna top himself.
Yeah.
And from across the way, in the opposite building, you get a laser pointer come across his chest, sort of like points to a picture on his wall that's basically got "no" written on it.
Yeah.
And he discovers that somebody else has survived in the opposite building.
And she is like the same as us. She's like looking through her scope at him, and she's like, "This idiot! This guy is a moron." Yeah.
And she's like completely the opposite. She's like Laura Bloody Croft. She's
like, awesome, right?
Got, like, camping stove, and she's got all these supplies, and she's got traps set up for the bloody zombies and stuff.
And she's got a hunting bow as well, hasn't she? Or did I imagine that? Maybe I imagined that. She's got a lot of survival gear anyway. Like, she's obviously a mountain climber, or she does, something.
She's got climbing gear, and she's got like
camping gear.
Ice picks and stuff and things like that.
Oh yeah, this ice pick. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I knew she had some kind of offensive weapon.
And a little hatchet. Yeah, she's got a little hatchet as well.
Yes.
And you know, she's been surviving a lot better than he has. And they set up a little sort of like a little slide system across, and she gives him a load of food. So that and she's like, I like the fact that she sends over the box with the food in it, and it's got a note on it saying, like, eat it slowly, don't.
Yeah, and then he starts shoving it down his throat, and he's almost puked.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to eat lots of food when you haven't eaten any food for weeks. It's really bad idea. I hated him at first, and I must admit, as the film went on, he really won me over. I think Kim Yu Bin, the lady over the way, I thought she was awesome. The moment I met her, I was like, oh, I like her. But I really think this film does a good job of giving us this idiot child, and then making him really endearing by the end, to where I was like, oh no, I actually do want him to survive. And got some nice touches. Like, I like that he's got these drones and stuff, and he sends the drones out to kind of see what's going on around him.
I mean, there are bits that make you think, oh god, you're such an idiot. He just watched a film of some kiddie trying to stretch out of a building and to get a signal on his phone, and then falling to his death. And then later on, he does it himself, and you think, oh, come on, really? Are you honestly that fucking stupid?
Well, I guess
he was
just that desperate, I guess.
Desperate. I mean, he's got a horrible scene when he hears he finally hears his parents. Yeah. And you can hear like an attack going on. You think, oh fuck, that is horrible.
Yeah, because
that was really well done.
It's a great scene, and the reception's really spotty in the block of flats, isn't it? So for a lot of the film, he can't get hold of his parents. He just gets the odd message, doesn't he? And then he gets all of them sort of come in at the end. But yeah, that scene when he gets the attack stuff is actually surprisingly effective, I thought. I also really liked the scene with the policewoman.
Yeah, that was a really nice done
because
scene as well.
You know, he was just completely powerless to help. I really enjoyed that. And then
there's a few ththings that sort of made me think, oh yeah, okay, not
the
really.
end.
When No, because the thing is that it kind of becomes it's kind of a love. It becomes like a love story type thing, really.
Sure.
I mean, not So you've got the sort of them sort of coming together.
Yeah.
But the scene where they actually get together and they go back in the building, I thought those zombies seem to be holding back because
I'll give you that. It did. Yeah.
Totally should have just been overrun in like minutes because they just weren't that good.
I feel like
even she wasn't that good.
No, and I feel like if they'd done something, if they played out the scene slightly differently, it would have worked fine. Like if they had, if they still had the drone and they put some kind of noise-making thing on the drone or sent the drone off to kind of distract them,
some sort of distraction.
Then she could have taken out a few. But she just they go postal on these zombies at that point. And you're right, like from being such a deadly threat to begin with, suddenly they were.
Some of the noise stuff is inconsistent as well because it sometimes the slightest noise sets them off, and other times they're having full-on conversations
and
with
it's
like
fine.
normal voices, and it's just like nobody's paying any attention.
And then sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes they have those normal conversations and no one says anything. And then other times they have those normal conversations and Kim's like, shh, be quiet. And it's like, well, you weren't just now. Like, it's very inconsistent, I agree. Very inconsistent.
And other things I didn't understand, like when he decides to go shopping, as it were, he's going to go and raid the next door neighbours, sort of.
Yeah.
And he ends up in that apartment where there's shitloads of stuff, like climbing gear and all this sort of stuff, and he just takes basically the radios.
Well, the thing I didn't really understand. I know he'd put his apartment because he makes a social media post. His voice called #alive, and I think there was a better name because what he writes would have been a better name for the movie. It was like "I Must Survive" or something like that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a better title.
And I think that would have been a better title. But so he sends that and he says he's in this apartment, which is fine. But I thought when he went to that other flat, I was like, well, if you've got rid of the zombies from this flat, you could just stay here now.
Yeah,
and
it's a better.
You might as well go from flat to flat, eating all the food until you run out of food, then go to the next flat and so on. You don't really need to. I guess he's like so obsessed with his video games, you know. Because that was another moment as well where it was like, oh, this kid, where he's like still just playing online video games. He's like, sod it. It's like, okay.
I think when you get to the sort of towards the end when they go to the 8th floor.
Yes, the obvious trap.
Yeah, I think that was done. For me, that was done so quickly.
Yeah, it should have been drawn out a little longer.
Yeah, I think they should have gone up there a bit sooner, maybe, and made that scene a little longer.
Or just make the film a bit longer.
Really rushed. Yeah.
It needed time to breathe, those scenes.
Yeah.
Because they were good scenes and they're well acted. But it should have gone on. Those moments should have been given more time to breathe.
Especially because I think that a little more time with that character.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you don't need more explanation than they got, really.
No.
But it would have been nice if you would have got to see him a little bit more and sort of had his relationship was a bit, explained a little more. It would. I think it would have just worked just a slight better.
I agree.
Like I said, I mean, it's rarely have I ever wanted a character to survive so much. Actually, I thought he was so charming.
By the end,
in the end,
yes.
I definitely wanted them to live. I really didn't want them to die horribly.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And some of the plot inconsistencies aside, and certainly the very end kind of annoyed me a little bit because it was like, how did they find them there, and why did they decide to go up like that? And there's there's a scene where I thought, if it ends now, it will. In this way, it will be a downer, but I think it would have been a better ending than the ending we got, if that makes sense.
I think I was thinking that too. But having said that, I'm so glad that
I'm glad they survived.
We are spoiling it, aren't we? Yeah, we are.
They survive. Yeah, they survive.
So I'm glad. I am so glad that they did survive.
But
But I think it probably would have made a better.
Because you've got that almost that last stand, and I thought that would have been better served if they'd just gone down together.
Or maybe if she'd have survived and he didn't.
Sure. Or if he'd done something to save her and sacrificed himself. Yeah. The idiot kid does good, and he did do good anyway in the end. But I kind of guessed from the point that he was holding the horde of zombies back with a bike. I was like, they're going to survive this, because they're like the kind of, like you said, the plot armor is in full force, and it was like, okay, I think they're going to survive this.
Because the thing is that the inconsistencies with the zombies. You just think, well, there have been plenty of opportunities for these things to have just completely killed them by now.
Yeah,
they should be dead. If this had been any other normal zombie movie, those people would have been dead by now.
Absolutely.
Because some of the stuff with the zombie, and that weird thing which, like, there's a bit where near the end where they make it to the 8th floor.
Yeah,
and it's all clear. And then one shuffles in, and he does this sort of silent scream thing, and then all of a sudden they're all there, and it's like, well, we haven't seen that they could do that. Yeah. There's been plenty of times for them to show that, and it's also sort of certain things like that. Their behaviour is inconsistent with things like when they get the cop. They drag her into the building.
They pull her away, and they show almost way more intelligence in that scene than they do in any other scene in the movie.
Yeah, so I think they really did need to sort of set what these zombies were actually like and what they could do.
Because when they grabbed the cop and they pulled her away into the darkness, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, because they're not acting like traditional zombies. There's something more to these creatures, and that almost made it. Yeah, and it also made it more threatening, to where you're like, maybe they could open doors. Maybe they could, like maybe they could do more than just the normal zombie stuff.
I mean, they get this. You get the voiceover on the news at one point says that they do things that they remember in life.
Yes.
So you do get that one with the fireman who climbs the rope.
Yeah.
So you get that, and you think, okay, that makes sense.
But they could have capitalized on that a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest, because it only happens twice, pretty much. The cop, and then the victim, the cop victim, and the zombie horde, and then the fireman.
To open doors. You see them trying to open doors a few times as well, which. But that again, there's that scene with where she tries to throw that ball on the rope to him for the first thing. I don't quite understand why she left it there.
Why
would
don't
you
know
not immediately just pull it back up?
What?
You wouldn't leave it there, would you?
For one thing, it was clearly too far away for her to ever throw that.
Never going to make that.
And another, I was completely perplexed as to why she left it there. Like you, I was like, why are you doing? Like, and she's the survival one. She's the one with the sense.
She's the clever one.
See, if he'd done that, I would have been like, yeah, seems like something he probably would have done, But with her, it was like, it doesn't really seem in character with her, because she's been the really intelligent, smart one.
I mean, the reason they did that was to show that he isn't completely useless. He can use his drones, which is fine. Okay, you set that up.
But the fireman guy could have climbed or scaled. You could have had a zombie scale in the side of the building anyway, and done that entire scene fine. And it also was kind of like, well, she's seen that he's got drones, so why didn't she just immediately say, tie a rope to your drone, instead of trying to throw the ball? Because he'd already delivered her food at this point by drone. Or had he? But she'd seen the drone anyway.
No, I don't think it was. No,
she'd seen the drone.
Yeah.
So either way, she knew he had a drone, and it's like, well, you could have just done that instead to begin with, which is what,
It led to a nicely dramatic moment with him trying to get the zombie off the line.
It was a great scene.
It was those sort of scenes are really good, but I think the build up to those scenes and certain things of the inconsistencies were just annoyed me. I think it's just things that could be fixed with little tweaks.
Wouldn't have taken much.
No, which I think that's what stops it, which makes this film a fun, like, zombie movie that could have been a better movie. I think
it could have been a fantastic zombie movie. But you're right, it ends up being fine, but it could have been something really special with a few minor tweaks, I think. Interestingly enough, this is apparently based on a 2019 script by Matt Naylor. And this is actually getting made this year as well. Is in production or has been finished and is coming out this year.
As an American movie.
As an American movie with Johnny Martin and Tyler Posey. So it'd be interesting to see the two, which one kind of works best, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good film. It's certainly the best film I've seen with a hashtag in the title. I'll give them that. I can't think of any others right now, but
I would say I'm not sure I've seen any other films with hashtags in the title. I know there are some, but
yeah.
I think if you're going to compare it to the nearest thing, like Korean wise, it's going to be Train to Busan, and this is not Train to Busan.
No, but I hear Peninsula isn't either, so
yeah,
I've not heard great things. I still haven't seen it, but
I've heard some upsetting things about that, and it's like, oh no. I'm kind of happy that they've done something different.
Oh yeah, I think that's key.
On the sounds of it, it's probably too different.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, because I still want to watch it anyway.
Definitely. But yeah, hashtag Alive. I'd recommend it if you're on Netflix. You fancy a movie to watch? Yeah. Give it a watch. I do think The Night Eats the World is probably a better movie of the two. If I'm talking person trapped in their apartment. But I did really enjoy this one.
I think that I've not read it, but isn't there a similar scenario in World War Z?
There probably is. I've never read it.
Yeah, I think there's a similar situation with a character who's like a online kiddie in that. I think it's in Japan, that one.
Right.
But I'm not sure. I'm not too sure, because I haven't read it and I haven't actually. Oh, I know I did. I saw it recently. The World War Z,
the movie,
and
that ending. Jesus Christ!
I mean,
it's the most convenient plane crash of all time. The plane crashes and it's like, oh, there's the building I need to go in. Like, oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, there was some really nice stuff in that.
The opening was great when they had the scene of the zombies in, is it Africa, when they're like climbing the walls, and it was like, whoa, this is really cool.
It's Jerusalem, isn't it?
Oh, it's Jerusalem.
Scene in Jerusalem.
I remember it. I watched it when it came out. I haven't watched it since, so my memory's a bit.
Yeah, I like that they'd hoard until they could climb walls and things.
Well, they climb each other, don't they? They just pile up.
Yeah. I like that, and I like some of the sort of the ideas in it. But overall, I think it was a pretty naff movie. Isn't it? It was entertaining enough, but
I think the ones that have potential are infinitely more frustrating than the ones that are just straight out rubbish. And I think World War Z could have been something. There are scenes in that film where you're like, yeah, you might have something here. And
I've heard the book is way better.
I've heard the book's fantastic. My housemate loves the book.
Because I think the book is it's lots of different characters, isn't it? I think it's not just set with one.
Yeah, I think it tells lots of different stories.
What's his face's character?
Yeah.
So,
it almost feels like they didn't have a full story for him there anyway. So they could have happily done it as an anthology of sorts, with different stories, and he could have been one of the stories, but tell others as well. But yeah, it has its moments. But I definitely recommend hashtag Alive anyway. It's on Netflix, so if you've got Netflix subscription, it's worth your time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and with the lack of movies at the moment, it's perfect. It's a nice,
absolutely.
It's a nice sort of little movie to watch if you're into zombie movies. It's certainly, I think, in the never-ending stream of zombie movies we're getting right now.
It's one of the better ones.
And we've had, it's definitely one of the better ones, despite its flaws and things. I think the two mains make up for a lot of zombie movie protagonists, I think.
Definitely. So, like you said, they were both she was instantly charming, and I like that he was awful to begin with and became charming.
Yeah, despite the fact that he really is too stupid to live. I mean, you know.
And yeah, I mean he is, and he is consistent. He doesn't become smart. He's consistently stupid the whole way through. It's just his stupidity becomes endearing by the end. You know, it's like, oh, you know, bless him.
In an almost Bill and Ted way.
I think half the reason that it works is because he's not just an arrogant gamer kid. Like, he has moments of reflection in the movie where he's like, I am such an idiot. Why didn't I listen to my parents? Why don't I do this? Like, this is my own fault. Like, I'm in this situation because of what I've done. Like, I'm an idiot.
There's no, like, he's an idiot, but he's not, like, there's no malice in him.
No, and he's aware of his faults.
Horrible. Exactly, yeah. He knows he's an idiot. So it makes it that much better. You like him that much more because you know he knows he's a div.
Yeah, because he even says to her, he's like, "I'm an idiot. Like, I'm a complete idiot." But yeah, and I like the concept of this like, you know, he's like a well, I guess minor celebrity online, and you know, that's his life, but he's useless in the real world. just hopeless.
It'll be interesting to see how endearing the American version is, because I bet you any money he won't be as likable.
I can't imagine it, but we'll see. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, because they're both based off the same script. Apparently, Matt Naylor also helped the screenplay for this one.
Okay.
So he was involved in that, and then obviously now he's involved in the American version. So I guess they're going to share quite a lot of similarities. But yeah, I think there's just something about that actor, Yua In. He just manages just something about him. He's just really charming, and yeah, I think they're going to struggle to reproduce that in the American version, but I'm definitely willing to give it a go, though. I'm curious.
So is the American one going to be called Alone?
That's it. Yeah.
When an outbreak hits in and barricades himself inside his apartment. It's got Donald Sutherland in it. I'm
guessing he's the man on the 8th floor. That was my assumption when I saw his name.
That would make sense,
because at first on the information I read, they put Donald Sutherland as the first name, and I was like, wait, he's the star? This is going to be a very different movie. I'm assuming Donald Sutherland hasn't got a booming live streaming career in video games.
Looking at the pictures,
it looks different, doesn't it?
Way more capable.
Yeah, I thought that. I don't think they're going to do the same thing. Yeah.
No.
I thought exactly the same.
I mean, let's not try and make assumptions, but it already looks like it's not going to be as good.
It looks like a lesser product, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll give it a go.
Props for Donald Sutherland. I mean, you know, it gets
always got
extra marks for Donald Sutherland. So,
and he'll be great. And I can imagine, because I'm already assuming I know what character he's going to play, and he will play that character very well. But yeah, not sure about the other. Certainly, Johnny Martin. I'm just like, if you're playing the same character, I don't see it.
No.
Which makes me think they're going to change it quite a lot. But we'll see. Worth giving a watch when it comes out. But in any case, hashtag alive. Good fun. What else have you been watching?
So I saw I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
No, I did almost see this one.
It's written and directed by Charlie Kaufman, which tells you everything.
Yeah.
You know, history of his, being John Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine, all that sort of stuff. And I bloody love Eternal Sunshine.
One of I mean, easily my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, completely.
Easily, it's an amazing film.
Probably, I think that's probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie as well.
He's one of those people I've just always preferred his more serious roles, and it's like, I wish you just did more serious stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely that. I mean, the thing is I think his comedy is so rooted in that 90s sort of.
It is.
That I find it hard to watch him in comedies now without thinking. Although, I mean, I did see Sonic.
Yeah, he loved it. He was having so much fun in that movie. I was like,
he's full on Jim Carrey in that movie.
But it works.
But it works for the movie.
I think because Sonic's really a 90s game, it kind of like it's like fine, you know.
Yeah, I think it's probably true.
He's just playing. He's just playing the Riddler again, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
He's just the Riddler with a mustache. But yeah, I go on. Sorry, yeah.
Yes,
Love Eternal Sunshine was the end of that point.
Yeah. So Charlie Kaufman directed. It's got Jesse Plemons, Jesse Buckley, Toni Collette, David Thewlis.
That's a cast.
And so it's basically starts off with Jesse Buckley and Jesse Plemons, who are this boyfriend and girlfriend, and she is well. You're not quite sure what she is actually at first. So
okay.
She's outside her apartment, you think, and she's about to be picked up by her boyfriend. That you discover they've been together for 6 weeks, sort of thing, and you know things are going along, and she likes him a lot. He seems like a nice guy. He's sweet and clever, but she's thinking of ending the relationship. So something something she's not quite happy with, but they're on their way to meet his parents.
Oh, so they're about to get a bit more serious.
Yeah, so
sure.
So they're sort of there's this car journey in this sort of snowstorm, and where they're sort of discussing things and they're talking about stuff, and she's getting these phone calls, and while they're going along, you're sort of seeing sort of strange inconsistencies when they're talking, and you think, well, that's a bit weird. And then, like I said, you get this sort of like a 20-minute drive with these sort of characters, and it sort of establishes their relationship. And he's sort of he seems very clever but quite shy and a little sort of serious at times, and she seems sort of playful but sort of again. She sort of lapses into these moments of sort of, she reads this, she's says this poem that she's written, which is like, whoa, that fucking poem's dark. Jesus. It's about going home and what it's like when you're the loneliness of being home and going home and stuff. It's like, whoa, that's like, fuck me, that's a heavy thing.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the parents' house, it's a really odd setup. There's this sort of they're at this sort of this farmhouse, and he sort of gives her a tour before they go in the house of this barn where the sheep are, and then he tells this story of how these pigs, they had pigs, but the pigs got died. They just got full of maggots and they died.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, this is a bit odd. I mean, it's a Charlie Kaufman movie, so of course it's fucking odd.
You're expecting odd, but yeah.
Exactly. And then they go in, they meet the parents, sort of, she keeps seeing things in the house that seem to remind her of her own upbringing and her own sort of things. But then you think, well, that's not consistent with what she said about her upbringing before.
Right.
And they meet, Toni Collette and David Thewlis playing his mother and father, and they're a very odd couple. She's very sort of like slightly manic and odd, and he's sort of like very what's the word I'm looking for? Inappropriate at times, and then things sort of they change from scene to scene. So when she first meets them, they come down the stairs, they're sort of an older couple, and the dad's got a blaster on his head. And then the scene changes to them in the dining room, and they're having dinner, and they're younger. The dad's plaster is on the other side of his head, and things what they're wearing changes. She's suddenly not wearing a jumper, and she's got like pearls on, and there are these weird sort of, you're not quite sure what's going on, why, she's freaked out by them, and she's explaining that she's an artist, but she's a poet, and she's also not a physicist. Basically, she's a physicist sort of thing, and you think, well, this doesn't makes sense. And while you're having this, there are also these scenes of a janitor cleaning a school that is intercut with these scenes. And the thing about this movie is I really do not want to spoil anything.
No, sure.
I think it has to be watched. And I know we spoiled Alive, but
that's a pretty straightforward plot. You can probably guess where that's going, you know.
This one, I think, I really don't want to spoil, but it's very hard not to. For me, it really played on one of my biggest fear is losing my mind. It's always been my biggest fear.
I think over almost anything else. Seeing my granddad eventually die of dementia, terrifying. Yeah, it's probably one of my biggest fears as well. So I can totally relate to that.
And I think it really does. It plays on memories and paths not taken, and it does it in a very sort of like non-linear and at times confusing way. And there's I don't want to really spoil it, but there's at one point there's a sort of a song and dance number and stuff, which sounds crazy, but in the context of the movie, if it makes so much sense. I really, really liked it. It really did hit me on an emotional level. It's definitely going to be one of those movies that people will hate. I think my wife really didn't like it at all. I think it didn't resonate with her in at all in the same way it did with me. The main the two sort of Jessie Buckley and Jesse Plemons, they are fantastic. Him is this sort of like he usually plays sort of like very oddball characters, very sort of weird things, odd characters. Like in Game Night, he's the weird cop in that. But really brilliant sort of, you can see that underneath the sort of weirdness, there's this sort of like there's a real nice heart to him, and Jessie Buckley is again, I've seen her in really good stuff, and she's an amazing actress. And again, she completely carries this sort of character who doesn't really know what's happening, but knows that things aren't adding up right. And obviously, when things reveal themselves later on, it's like, oh god, man, this is a really it's Charlie Kaufman, so it's odd. It's
I like that kind of odd though.
But it's beautifully filmed, and the characters are fantastic, and it's heartbreaking and just really thought provoking, and I think it had a very satisfying ending, even though it's far from a happy ending.
Sure.
But but that doesn't matter. And again, this is another one that's a book, and I think there are certain differences in the book. From what I gather in the book, there are slasher elements to it.
Okay.
I think the book seems to be more of a horror sort of in coloured book. But I really enjoyed it. If you're at all into very odd movies with a Kaufman flavour, then I would highly recommend this. It did a lot for me. I really liked it.
Well, it sounds really good. Yeah, I will add that to my list. It was briefly in my list this week, but I just hadn't had time to see it. But I will make a point to see it now because it does sound interesting. Have you, speaking on a similar level with this kind of, hitting home and kind of, hitting home with its themes? Have you seen the trailer for The Road's Not Taken?
No, I haven't.
Come upon YouTube a few times now. Is Javier Bardem, and it's about a guy suffering with dementia.
Yes, with Elle Fanning is his daughter.
Yeah. Looks really powerful. I haven't watched it, and again, it's one of those movies I think is going to be quite emotional. I'll have to be in the right mood for it, but it looks superb.
Yeah. And on a similar vein, there's another one as well. It's called
Salma
Father.
Hayek in it as well, I think, randomly.
Yeah, yes. I think Salma Hayek's playing his wife, or his ex-wife.
Yeah.
There's a similar sort of thing as well. I saw a trailer for today called Father,
Okay.
with what's his name? Uh, Hang on.
It'll come to you. Don't worry.
Anthony Hopkins. Anthony
Oh, okay.
Hopkins. It seems, and Olivia Colman. It's got Mark Gatiss in it, and it seems to be a similar sort of this old guy sort of like in his flat, sort of misremembering things and stuff. Yeah, that again, that looks interesting as well.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. So have you seen anything else?
I have seen The Devil All the Time.
And what is The Devil All the Time?
So this is another Netflix movie. It came out this week. It literally came out yesterday or the day before, maybe. So I watched it last night. So this is again, it's another one that's based on a book, and it's got a fantastic cast. It's Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland, Bill Skarsgård, Hayley Bennett, Riley Keough, Sebastian Stan, Mia Wasikowska, Jason Clarke. It's got a hugely brilliant
That's an amazing cast, yeah.
It's directed by Antonio Campos, who I think has previously done a few things that I do not know. So it's a Southern Gothic story. It's multiple characters, but I guess the main character doesn't really come in until sort of like 30 minutes in, which is the Tom Holland character. But it starts off with it's set just after the Second World War in the south of America, sort of the Appalachians.
Yeah.
And it's Bill Skarsgård's character is this soldier who's just come back from the war, and he's haunted by what him and his troops found a sergeant who the Japanese had skinned and crucified.
Okay.
And he's scarred by this, and he goes home, and he meets this girl, and they have a family, and there's the sort of story basically has the idea that almost everybody in this area is linked somehow. You know, everybody is like two steps away from somebody else. You know.
Mm.
And so you've got him, and then you've got these two characters who are basically serial killers. They go around killing young men, and you've got this character who's a preacher, and it obviously it all sort of winds up together, and you get all these sort of like, you know, loops that sort of come round to together. But for the first sort of 20 minutes, everybody is so fucking unlikable. They are horrible people. Yeah, they're almost just, you almost don't know who you're really rooting for a bit, because they're just so sort of damn twisted, and it's really anti-religion. It really, there's a real sort of streak of religion that goes through this movie that sort of sets up these sort of like firebrand preachers who, like, you know, tip live spiders over themselves, and you know, it's that sort of, you know, sort of level of preacher. And I mean, if I was living in the Appalachians, I'd be very insulted by these fucking people, because they all seem totally fucking irredeemable.
Right.
Until you get to Tom Holland's character, who is the son of the Bill Skarsgård character. When you get to sort of him, sort of as a sort of a not quite grown up, but, you know, on the verge of being grown up, and you get his story, he's the only character that you sort of, the person who is sort of his adopted sister. She's lovely and she's sweet as well, but it's really just so brutal and sort of nasty. And I was sort of thinking, well, because it's not a horror movie. It's a sort of crime drama thriller sort of thing. And there's like, there's all these characters, and I think his character is really well done and really well sort of explored. But I think it needed time to work on the other characters, like the two serial killers and this sheriff played by Sebastian Stan, who's the brother of the female serial killer,
right?
And how he's sort of like keeping things out. And again, I don't really want to spoil things with this one either, even though it's oh. I wanted to like this movie, but I didn't.
Okay.
It's
not the law. It's fine. We can dislike films.
Yeah, no. I mean, I if I don't like something, I would, fuck it. I'm not, that. But this movie, it's
potential
well shot.
Is there. Yeah.
Beautifully well, it's well directed. All of the actors are great with what they're doing, especially Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson again. Playing this, he's playing this sort of like really slimy Southern preacher, who's a real like just horrible person.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this is that I think I get the impression that in the book you obviously get more time with these characters, so you get more of their motivations and what they're really like. And I think this film, it's another one of those cases where it should have been a series. I think it suffers from the fact that if these characters would have been better developed, I would have probably gave more shits about them. It just makes, it's one of those movies that makes you feel grubby. It's really horrible and just nasty. And obviously that's the intention. It's clearly that's the intention.
That is fine, but you do have to be in the right mood, and sometimes it is very difficult to watch films where there are no protagonists that you can relate to, or you want to relate to, or you want to even succeed. Is a problem I've had before, where you're like, oh, everyone's just unlikable. I just hate everyone. So,
yeah, and I think I was trying to sort of think of, if you take something on a similar vein, which would be, I mean, not, it's more extreme, but something like The Devil's Rejects or something. Now those are, we've discussed
thoroughly awful people.
We've discussed them a number of times, and we both said they are terrible, awful fucking human beings. They are real, just horrible people. But for some reason, they're weirdly charming.
Well, due to talent, the talent of the cast and their charisma. And I'm not taking anything away from the actors in this film, because all of those actors have got amazing charisma and talent. But also the director, because I think Rob Zombie did something really, really amazing with The Devil's Rejects. Because after House, you're like, I don't know why anyone would like these characters. They're awful people, and that's the point. They're the antagonists of that film, and then suddenly they're the protagonists, and you're like, well, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this, and they're really awful early on in the film. They do a few things you're like, wow, but you do, by the end, you're like, It kind of helps, I guess, that the cop in that film is just as psychotic and awful as they are.
Exactly.
But you do kind of feel for them.
But I also think that with something like that, it's because of it's not a real world. It's not, even though they're horrific things that could happen in the real world and do happen in the real world, but it feels hyper exaggerated. It feels, feels at times almost silly. This doesn't feel, this feels like it's in a real world. It feels, really properly grubby and really sort of horrible and unpleasant. And like I said, having only one sort of person that you can root for, it makes it a difficult watch.
Yeah, well, it sounds interesting.
I kind of recommend it but I don't know how I would sort of, it's like, how do you sell it when I've basically trashed it like this? It's like I said, it's beautifully shot. It's well directed. There's the one of the weird things about it is the guy who wrote the book also narrates this film.
Oh, okay.
Which at times is an annoyance in itself. I found it because it almost feels like they're filling in things for you that you should be seeing.
Right.
You know, it's like in a book, that's fine because you're reading a book. It's, you know, you want the information. The book's telling you the information. Whereas I think in a film like this, when the narrator sort of pops up and he's saying how characters feel and what their motivations are, you're like, oh well, I don't want to be fucking told it. I want to see these things. I want to be more invested. I think the voiceover kind of also spoils it for me slightly.
Detracts from fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds kind of interesting.
That's the thing. It's a very interesting movie. It's kind of worth it to see Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson's character, because they're so well done. I mean, Robert Pattinson's accent's odd, but I think it lends itself to the character he's portraying. Is this sort of like clearly well-educated but clearly immoral priest,
sure,
or preacher, whatever you want to call them, and it's just so sort of nasty that I couldn't enjoy it enough. I kind of just wanted it. It's like I just want this to fucking end now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I can recommend it on like I can recommend it the fact that it's a brand new movie and it's out on Netflix, and it's certainly an experience. For me, it didn't do a great deal, but there you go. That's kind of all I can say about it. Really, it's a well-made movie that I think should have been a TV series.
Yeah,
I think it needed more time to breathe with the other characters to make it. I think what would have been a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. But yeah, I may well check it out anyway. Netflix is good for those kind of things.
I'd really like to hear what you have to say about this one, because
maybe I'll check it out because of that.
This one,
if nothing else.
One and I'm thinking of ending things, but this one I don't know. It didn't sit with me as and I love horror movies. I love Southern Gothic, but this one I just found hard to watch. It was.
Okay. Well, before we go, we should probably talk about the Dune trailer, shouldn't we?
I hadn't realised we'd not.
Don't think we have, because we talked about The Exorcist last time.
Yeah, we did. You're right. I think we probably mentioned it.
We probably did in amongst that talk. But it'd be good to kind of address it on its own. So the Dune trailer dropped 2 weeks ago, a week ago, somewhere around there.
Yep, like 2 weeks ago now, I think. Probably.
Yes, the latest Villeneuve movie. We're both big fans. I think it's fair to say. Blade Runner and also Arrival as well, which was also fantastic.
And Sicario. I mean, I love Sicario. I thought Sicario was a fantastic movie.
Yeah. So, I was pretty confident this was gonna be, if nothing else, visually stunning. I love this trailer.
I did it.
I think it's gorgeous, and I think a lot of the stills, like some of the suits in the stills, I was like, I'm not sure if they really work, but seeing them in motion, seeing them in the trailer, I think they look great. I think the casting is really good.
Yeah, I was going to say the cast is phenomenal. It's such a great cast. I mean, Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica is an inspired choice, I thought.
Absolutely,
I
agree.
I've only seen Timothée Chalamet in a few things, and I don't think he was only in my sort of minor parts. But what I've seen of him is I like him a lot. He's he seems like a really promising actor, and I think he looks really good as Paul. He
does. He looks fine. I'm glad we've got Oscar Isaac getting a chance to do something outside of that fuck awful Star Wars series. It's nice to because he's a good actor. It'd be nice to see him. Jason Momoa, Dave Bloody Batista is making a hell of a career for himself.
He really is.
He's just like really, really. I think it's fantastic.
I mean, he was fantastic in that in Blade Runner.
He was, yeah,
and
he's amazing in
the
that.
Shorts. The short that they did was really, really good. He is really good. He's surprisingly brilliant for an ex-wrestler type.
Ex-wrestler, yeah. He's an amazing actor. And I'm really glad he didn't, because I did have that fear at first where I was like, oh, okay, he's just going to end up being known for, Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's all he'll ever be. But no, he really can act, and he's amazing, really, really good. And this trailer was stunning, and I really love the design of everything, including the worm that we see at the end.
Yeah, I think the problem it has, which is it's not its fault. It's the fact that the scenes that you see are kind of so similar to scenes that are from the Lynch Dune that it's really hard not to think of those scenes, that we've seen before. Which it's not. I wouldn't say it's to its detriment, but I think it is. It does make you go, oh, but it's like, I love the original Dune. So
I love Herbert's. I love Herbert's Dune. I do love Herbert's Dune. I've got them all hardback, but no, I love the Lynch Dune. I think it's a great movie. I really want to see that 8-hour cut that supposedly exists. I would watch that. I would happily watch that.
Same here.
But I love Lynch's version. But I've got room for this. And one thing I really like with this, they're not doing the whole book. They're doing half the book, which really pleases me. No, they're doing half
it. The only thing that makes me worry is that it's not going to be big enough that they do the follow up, because if it doesn't make enough money, they will not do the sequel.
No, naturally. I think it'll probably do pretty well. We might
never get the sequel, which is going to be bloody tragic if it isn't. But I'm hoping enough people will want to watch it that it will be seen.
Certainly got a big buzz about it.
It really has.
Got a big buzz.
One of the only things that I saw some comments and on it, and I thought, oh, I kind of see that. Somebody said the problem they had with the trailer was it felt very YA. And I did think, oh, I can kind of see that. It does have a slight Hunger Games feel about it, which I thought, ooh, that's
to an extent, yeah, I can see.
Not so much that it's put me off, but I could see why people would think that.
I think I have full faith in Villeneuve at the moment. He's done nothing he's done nothing to concern me. So I have full faith.
And look, looks like we're getting proper Thropters
that
look like bloody decent. I don't think I've ever seen a decent design for a Thropter. Not drawn, I've seen, but not like on the screen, because I don't think even the ones in the TV series were great.
No. I'm really excited for this one, and I think it's a really, really stunning trailer. The cinematography in the trailer alone is incredible.
Yeah, I like you said, I've got full faith in Villeneuve to produce a fucking brilliant movie.
Well, let's hope it lives up to the hype. Anything else you want to talk about before we head off?
Diana Rigg.
Oh yeah, of course.
Diana Rigg, who died this week from cancer. She was 82. I absolutely adore Diana Rigg. I think she was absolutely fantastic. My favourite Avenger.
Oh yeah.
Well, not including Peel, Steve.
Of course.
Not including Steed, because Steed's brilliant. But she was definitely my favourite of the secondary characters. One of the best Bond girls.
For sure.
The only Bond girl that ever got to marry Bond.
Marry Bond, yeah.
I mean, a marriage that lasts 5 minutes.
Well, yeah.
And even though I've only seen clips of, apparently she's absolutely fantastic in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, she was good in the scenes I've seen her in. She was good. But yeah, and interestingly enough, I seem to remember seeing an interview with her before where, you know, people kind of asked her what, you know, the decision she made through her career, and she basically said, you know, she got to a certain age and she had that decision to make of whether, you know, am I gonna try and desperately hold on to my youth and try and remain a sex symbol, or am I just gonna grow old gracefully and try for different roles? And she obviously decided on the latter, and really carved out an amazing career for herself, you know, past the point of if she tried to hold on to that past glory, which I think a lot of actors, male and female, both, you know, suffer from. That kind of desire to still be what you used to be when you were 25, you know? It's like, well, you're not anymore. And
she was in that episode of Doctor Who with which was written, the part was written for her. Yes. Mrs. Gillyflower in the Crimson Horror. Played, of course, with her actual daughter. In that episode, and I really like that episode. I think it's got its attractors, but I really think that's a great episode. She's fantastic as the villain in it. She is absolutely brilliant. And also, she's in one of my favourite Vincent Price movies. She's in Theatre of Blood.
Theatre of Blood, yeah. Theatre of Blood's a great movie.
Which is one of the greatest high camp movies ever made.
It's up there with Phoebes for sure when it comes to campy Price movies.
Over the top, brilliant, and such fantastic kills as well. It's got great kills in it.
No one did campy horror better than Vincent Price.
No one. And she completely matches him as his daughter.
Oh, absolutely.
In that film, it's absolutely fantastic. And of course, she was working right up until lately because she's going to be. She's in Edgar Wright's next movie, Last Night in Soho.
Oh, great!
So she's got stuff yet to come out, and she was in the recent redoing of All Creatures Great and Small as well. On I think that's on Channel 5. I think right. I've not seen it, but I know she was in it. So she was working right up until basically until she died. So
it's a generational thing. We've said this several times recently in recent years. Like they just keep acting for they just keep going until the end. It's a specific generation, and they're all coming to an end, unfortunately now. But they just keep working. They're workaholics.
She was a fantastic actress.
Yeah, amazing career. Well, that was a downer to end the show on, Matt. But
but
no, it's good. She was amazing. She was amazing. So I guess next time we'll be back to talking about our film.
Yes.
Don't know what film, but
I think shall I say?
Just say it now, man. This surprise me.
RoboCop.
Oh hell yeah! I'm down with that.
Let's do RoboCop.
Sounds good to me.
The original.
Yeah, I assumed you were on about the original, not the fucking remake.
No, I want to buck the trend. I want to do the remake.
Well, I'm sure we'll probably talk about the remake in the course of talking about how the original works and the remake doesn't.
Also, have you heard they are doing a prequel series?
A RoboCop series without RoboCop.
Yeah.
Well, they've done a few series with RoboCop, and it was all fucking awful. So why not give it a try?
I mean, the thing I can think of is it's going to be like the rise of the Dick character.
Yeah, and I guess it's just going to be the steep decline of Detroit. I guess is probably
But we've already seen that. It's like, why do we need? That's a bit weird.
Will we get to see a recast Bodiger? Will we get to see what happens to Clarence on his rise through the ranks of crime?
Well, yeah, I guess that. See, that actually, thinking about that, I hadn't thought of that bit. I thought, that would make.
That'd be interesting. I can't imagine anyone else playing him, but I'd be up for seeing it.
No, that's the problem, isn't it? But at least that would be interesting, actually, seeing his rise as well. I suppose.
Good.
Yeah, seeing their rise would be good, but it's like, well, without RoboCop, it's a bit weird.
It is, yeah.
You'd probably put in you'd probably get Murphy, wouldn't you?
You could have Murphy in it, actually, yeah. Although he transfers, doesn't he? So he's a new transfer. So I guess if Murphy was going to be in it, he'd be somewhere else, not in Detroit. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see. And obviously, we do. Do we still have? Is that film coming out? The new RoboCop movie?
I don't know.
It's gone very quiet. It's gone worryingly quiet.
The Blomkamp one.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. I don't think we're getting it.
I love him. I wish he'd just commit and do something. He keeps talking about these amazing projects and then they disappear.
Fault,
I know it's not. I know.
It's not him. And I think this is the same thing. I think his funding's fallen through again, and it's not happening. It is that horrible thing of, look at this. You want this, don't you? You want this. It's here. It's here. And then no, you can't have that. It's like
It's like they just don't like money. I don't understand.
I know. I'll never forgive Scott for fucking him over on the Aliens thing.
Oh God, they're doing another one.
I know.
I don't care. I haven't cared since Prometheus, and I just. Covenant was even worse, and now just stop.
Disney owns it now, doesn't it?
I know, and I thought Disney. Well, this was back when I thought Disney might have some kind of hope. Still, I've given up all hope on Disney now. But,
no, God no.
But I kind of hoped that they'd be like, oh well, go away, Scott. We're gonna make Alien. Go back to what was popular with Alien. But no.
Yeah,
no. A Covenant sequel. Why not?
Why would the hell would you want to do a sequel to that movie? It's fucking atrocious.
It's really bad. I didn't think much of Prometheus at all.
No,
but Covenant was just way worse. It's one of those things, isn't it? Where it's happened few times where you get a sequel and you're like or a film and you're like, that was terrible, and then the sequel's even worse, and you're like, wow, how did you make an even worse one? Like it's just but you did.
I mean, that's a sheer talent in itself, isn't it? Making something even bloody worse than the last one.
It's made all the more frustrating that Scott is, in two of my favorite all-time movies. He's directed two of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, dude, just stop writing scripts. You're an amazing director. Direct. Don't get involved. Beyond directing.
We've said this before. He's so much better when he's adapting other people's work.
Absolutely, he is.
Than when he's left to do his own stuff.
Yeah.
When he does his own stuff, I don't know whether it's just the indulgence or what, but
I guess
he just doesn't seem to be able to produce his own thing. It's horrible.
Mm. Yeah, and he's such a great director. I just wish he'd stick to that.
Yeah.
Just stick to what you're good at,
Yeah, absolutely. We should also mention the. I presume you've seen the season 2 of Mandalorian trailer.
Oh yeah, I've seen the trailer. Yeah, it looks all right. They're doing that thing again that kind of annoys me. Where they're like, it's this like some mythical creatures known as Jedi. I'm like, dude, it wasn't that long ago. For fuck's sake, it was like. A decade at most.
5 years?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, what the fuck? They do this all the time now. They're like, oh, these mythical Jedi, who are they? And it was weird enough when they made the prequels, because then the sequels didn't make sense, where they were like, oh, no one, mythical order and stuff. And you're like, it was only like 30 years ago, and then now it's like 5 years since Jedi, and they're like, you want me to find these wizard Jedi mythical things, and I'm like, it was 5 years ago. Did you hit your head? Like, it's a pretty big deal. The Emperor died. The Death Star, didn't die. I guess his clone died. Death Star exploded. Empire collapsed.
Well, that's it. That's going to be one of the things, isn't it? That's it's whether they're going to link this to
if they have any sense,
the later movies or not. I mean, I think almost I can probably speak for most people when I say, "Fuck no, let's not."
Yeah.
And let's hope that they can, start again. But at the moment, fucking Kennedy's still in charge. So
Kennedy's still in charge, and also when this was being filmed, unless they make changes now, I suspect they were still like very much towing the line when this was being made. But we'll see. I mean, I enjoyed the first season. It had problems, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. But I think the main problem with this Mandalorian series is the fact that it's, even though it's not great, the thing is that it's the only fucking chink of light in an otherwise massive pile of shit.
Well, it's the standard thing it's the standard thing, because I thought this when the Mandalorian came along last year, everyone went crazy, and I was like, oh, cool. And I started watching it, and I was like, it's not bad. Like, I like it. It's not great though. Like, it's all right. And the problem is, it's just because Star Wars is in such a shit state that people see something that's kind of okay, and it's instantly elevated to like the best thing ever, just because it's like by contrast to these other movies, it's like, oh wow, you know, it's the best thing ever. It's fine. I'm hoping season 2 improves on season 1. To be honest,
I think I probably like it more than you do. But having said that, I think it's exactly that. It's like, what I think my poor little child heart is going. But it's so good because it's like, you know, like proper Star Wars.
I did like it. I did like it. And I think I think I would probably have lapped it up a lot more. The problem is the timing of that series and when it came out, because I think I probably wouldn't have noticed faults or cared as much had my love for Star Wars still been there. But I went into Mandalorian just like, I fucking can't stand Star Wars anymore. I just don't care. You know, like I genuinely, I love the original trilogy, and other than that, I just don't care. And I can't get excited about Star Wars, and I just think it's all a bag of shit now. A bag of shit that I just don't think they can ever recover from. I enjoyed Mandalorian though, and I will watch Mandalorian season 2, but I can't get as excited as I would have done because Star Wars is just done for me. It's done, 100% done. Especially now because I've seen one more movie than you have.
that's true. Actually,
I'm even further down that rabbit hole now.
No, you've seen Solo as well, haven't you?
Oh, I've seen 2 movies you haven't seen. Then I've seen Solo and I've seen Rise of Skywalker. So yeah. But yeah, I will definitely watch it. I hope they improve on some of the things from season 1. Yeah, I mean, I like the casting. Sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's got
we've got Ahsoka now, haven't we?
It's interesting to see how all that fits in.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people on this cast list for the next season. So it's going to be, you know, hopefully. I mean, I've heard some really weird rumors at the moment about him walking off.
Yeah, I'm not sure how true those are.
It sounds like a pilot. It sounds like a load of
I saw that.
Me,
I heard that rumor. I've also heard a rumor that it's going to go more anthology, and they're going to do stories away from the Mandalorian, which would be really strange if you've got a series called The Mandalorian and then we're following Ahsoka on her own for ages.
Yeah, that would be very odd.
And I love Ahsoka as a character.
I do.
The problem with all of this is, like, again, it goes back to that problem with the prequels and the Clone Wars and stuff, is that Ahsoka just shouldn't have ever survived past the Clone Wars, and her being around just causes issues, because then it's like, so where were you during, like, you know, the original trilogy? You just sat back and just watched, did you? Like, why you just decided not to get involved? I don't know. What were you doing?
Yeah, I think I was always waiting for her death. I mean, you kind of you'd have thought, even like logically, I suppose Anakin should have killed her.
Well, that would have been the best ending, wouldn't it? That would have made the most sense.
I mean, it would have been a horrible ending, but it would have been the ending that would, like you said, make the most sense.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'm hoping it will improve upon the things I didn't like about season 1 and be a really solid series, because certainly there's a lot to like in season 1 and it's got a lot of potential. It's certainly the best Star Wars thing they've done since Rebels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And certainly the best live action thing they've done since the original trilogy, probably, to be quite honest with you.
And of course, speaking of things that have died in our hearts and that we no longer care about,
Doctor Who or Star Trek.
The news that Doctor Who is not coming out until like 2022, is it?
Oh, well, wait, I don't care.
They've put it back. It's like,
they could put it back by a decade if they want.
Yeah,
Do what you want. I don't care anymore.
Leave it alone for a moment. Recast it and fucking fix the shit that you'd fucked up. That would be nice.
If you can. I mean, you can.
Well, I
think
if you leave it long enough. I think if they left it long enough.
I said this to my girlfriend the other night. We were talking about Doctor Who because she used to love Doctor Who, and she said, it's just rubbish now. And I said, yeah, I agree. It is rubbish now.
Is she an old style fan, or is she a?
She got in. She got in with Eccleston.
Okay.
So she's been a fan since Eccleston, and her favourite Doctor was David Tennant, and then Capaldi took over for her, and Capaldi's her favourite Doctor, which I totally all for. Terrible scripts, great Doctor, amazing Doctor.
Oh god, yeah, he was completely betrayed.
I think it also helps that she met him.
Oh wow, there you go.
And she said he is like the nicest person, because he was like a huge Doctor Who fan himself. He's the nicest person ever, which goes a long way. So we were just talking about it, and she was just saying, I just can't get into it anymore. And I said no, and I said I'll always love Doctor Who in the same way I'll always love Star Wars, the original trilogy. And I'll always love Star Trek up until recently. I will. But I can't get excited for it. I don't care about seeing any new stuff. And I said, to be honest, the best thing they could do would be to stop. Just stop for at least a decade, like 10 years, 5 to 10 years, and then come back with something, retcon it to fix it somehow. Or just ignore it like we did with some of the stuff from the TV movie. Just ignore it. But give it time. Come back with a new Doctor, new showrunner, new director, new everything, and just start again.
Completely agree.
Because it's just such a mess, and it's so awful now. It just needs time. It needs time. And it's the same problem with Star Wars. It's like, you're trying to fix it, but it's all like too soon. Give it time. Just
but they can't.
It needs to go away for people to miss it.
Certainly with Star Wars, they can't afford to.
No, they really can't afford to. Especially now Mulan's also failing miserably. Everything they're doing is just turning to crap. So they are quite desperate. But I think there's plenty of Fox properties they could make a pretty penny out of.
Which, let's face it, we don't want them to fucking do.
Well, no, I'd like them to do it if they do it well. But
but they probably won't, though.
No, they probably won't. You're right.
The thing is, I don't have faith in them to produce something good. I can't imagine them doing a good alien movie, or I can't imagine them doing.
The optimist in me wonders whether, out of desperation, they may start making good things again. Like they might realize that, maybe we shouldn't annoy fans. Maybe we should give fans what they actually want, because we can't afford not to anymore. Can't afford to keep pushing these agendas, and and even if you are pushing your agendas, I don't. A lot of the time, I don't mind if you're pushing an agenda as long as it's well written. I don't mind.
That's the thing. The thing is that
fine.
If you're making a movie with an agenda,
fine. But write
your
it
agenda,
well.
Exactly. If it's a movie with an agenda in it, not an agenda that happens to have a movie.
Yeah, and maybe, as has been confirmed this week, maybe don't buy a beloved series of movies and a franchise for like $4 billion, and then make a trilogy with zero plan as to how that trilogy is going to go. Like, not even an outline. Well, you had an outline from George Lucas, threw it out the door, and then had no plan. Which Daisy Ridley's now confirmed this week or last week.
I mean, I feel sorry for
the cast.
All of those actors.
Daisy Ridley's a great actress. John Boyega's amazing actor.
My God, they've been fucking screwed over. I mean, Boyega. Good God, they had an absolute dream character with Finn.
Ex-Stormtrooper. That's such a cool character.
With that character, and
an ex-Stormtrooper could have been incredible.
Yeah, and like Daisy Ridley was saying, one week she's bloody a Kenobi, the next week she's a Palpatine, next week she's a fucking Skywalker. It's like,
and then she was a Kenobi again potentially, and they kept flip flopping, and was like, what? Okay. Sure.
I mean, that's not even good for your actors. What the hell are they supposed to do with that?
But at that point, that's not even like, we've changed the script a bit. That's like, we don't even have an outline.
No.
That's like outline level. That's like we don't know what we are doing at all.
We're writing the movie as we're going along. It's like, how is that good?
Then, I mean, it's probably depreciated in value dramatically since then. But at the time, like a $4 billion franchise, and you've not got any plan. It's like, really?
Well, I mean, they started off fucking themselves over by giving it to bloody the second one to Johnson, who said, I want to subvert the whole idea of Star Wars. Well, that's already fucking alienating your entire audience. Why the hell would you want to subvert it?
This is the thing as well, because I enjoyed The Force Awakens when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But the trouble is, I left...
Because The Force Awakens is not a great movie.
No.
But it's got potential. It sets up a lot of really nice ideas.
And the problem is that I remember speaking to a friend of mine afterwards who really hated The Force Awakens. And I said to him, like, we can't judge these problems that he was raising at the time. I was like, well, you can't judge them. It's the first part of a trilogy. And we need to give it time to see how these things play out.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens is awful now because none of those things play out. None of those things end up getting tied up. None of those plot threads go anywhere. It's just rubbish. But it could have been something fine.
They don't really explain any like how things like survived.
Where did the First Order come from? How did they get there? How does everything happen in this? Yeah, it just it's mind-boggling. And as someone who just doesn't care anymore about Star Wars, it's fascinating to look at. It's just fascinating. You could do a case study on it. Like, it could be like a diploma on like how not to make a franchise or how to undo a franchise.
This is going to be a great documentary someday.
For sure. There's an amazing documentary.
You can already see the sort of the production people starting to talk about it. You can already see
I guess their NDAs have finished now.
That's what I mean. So, at some point there's going to be some really good stuff about this that,
I think the documentary will be way more interesting than any of the movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's bizarre choices. But yeah, anyway, nice to have a rant every now and again.
Absolutely.
But I think that's about it for today. So. I'm looking forward to talking about RoboCop though. That's a good choice. Strong choice. So we will be back next week with a talk on RoboCop. And until then, thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.